So let's talk about the new and exciting Kroot Hunting Pack box set. A box full of new cool sculpts for everyone's favourite murderous carnivore birdmen. But with what we know so far, is the set looking like a good deal or not? Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today I thought it would be interesting to cycle back to the big Kroot Hunting Pack box set that Games Workshop teased at the LVO. Let's talk a little about the box and the contents inside it, add together how much it would cost separately from Games Workshop, and look at whether or not it's really looking like a good deal for the miniatures contained within, compared with picking them up separately at a later date. I must admit the Kroot Hunting Pack box set at the Las Vegas Open was a bit of a surprise to me. It did seem fairly clear that Kroot were getting a good release within Codex Tau Empire. We basically had a cavalry and a Krootox rider confirmed already, but I wasn't really expecting Kroot to get so much love and attention that they basically have more unique kits than the World Eaters coming out, and apparently a similar sort of number to the Leagues of Votan, given that Games Workshop said that the models in this box were only around about half of the Kroot range. Will be really interesting to see what else they have coming for them. I guess new hounds in one form or another are kind of likely. We know there's that teased silhouette cavalry model that they've talked about. I think it would be very cool to see something akin to a greater Narlock for them and some new Vespid to fight alongside. I guess we'll see what sort of other goodies Games Workshop has in store for them. Focusing on this box set first though, this will be the first place to get the new Tau Empire Codex and the first wave of Kroot minis, and gameplay wise we know that the Codex will have a detachment themed to Kroot to attempt to make them a kind of viable army to run in their own right, which I think is kind of fair enough given that they look like they're actually going to make up a really big amount of kits within the Tau Empire range after this. Let's talk through the box set kit by kit and have a look at roughly how much I'd estimate Games Workshop will charge for these and for the box set, and whether it's looking like a good deal initially, before sharing a few more thoughts on the box set. As I mentioned in a previous video, I thought that I'd do this box set for the March giveaway for Warspets Tactics. Seems like a fun set to try and share out a bunch of new miniatures, and there'll be 6 copies of this one on offer. If you want to know how to enter for that, feel free to check out the end of the video where I'll cycle back to it. Jumping into the contents though, it seems that the new set is coming with 25 miniatures, the biggest and baddest of them being the new and reinterpreted Krootox Rider, one that we'd already seen teased before in rumour engines, but this guy does look like an absolute beast of a model. A great big hulking brute of a cavalry model, now seemingly to be adorned with a whole bunch of bling, sort of war elephant style almost, and he's looking like a bigger and imposing miniature judging by the preview shots, armed with either a repeater cannon or a tangle cannon. My guess would be that the tangle cannon might be a more anti-infantry sort of option, where the repeater gun will probably be a similar sort of autocannon profile to the one that we have at the moment, possibly with a few more shots though, given that it looks bigger with more barrels. Then there's a unit of 3 Krootox Rampagers, really quite fast moving dynamic miniatures, these guys charging in with javelin spears and pistols and blades for the riders. These are apparently younger Krootoxes that are smaller and angrier. It looks like it might go some way to adding a genuinely quite big countercharge threat to Codex Tau Empire in addition to Farsight. They throw those javelins for a small ranged attack before they charge in. The main deal that they have is they get 7 attacks on the charge in combat, and you can take 3 to 6 of them per unit. I guess in theory that's 6 models for a mighty 42 attacks going into the enemy. Though I'd sort of expect they're probably not going to be desperately high AP or damage, judging by the fact that they're sort of beast claw type attacks. Still though, I certainly expect them to be pretty dangerous to Space Marine equivalent type units or anything weaker. I feel like the miniatures are pretty cool and exciting, being a completely new unit to the Kroot lineup. Then we've got 2 sets of 10 Kroot Carnivores, the basic Kroot battle line, armed with their Kroot rifles, and one of them now gets a Tangle Bomb launcher. I'd say that these guys maybe haven't changed too desperately from their previous incarnation. They are sort of basic miniatures as they go, though I guess that's pretty appropriate for the rank and file without too much ornate detail on them. Definitely rendered a bit more crisply and with a few more dynamic poses compared with the last lot though. I can't help but suspect that this is going to come with a money per model cost though, compared with the current box set which gets you 16 of the guys. Finally for the miniatures we've got a pair of Kroot Shapers. The Flesh Shaper is the more standard one that is pretty much similar to the Kroot Shapers that they have at the moment. Different flavours of Shaper are apparently a thing in the new upcoming Codex, and I really wouldn't be too surprised if we get a cavalry one. Certainly the model that we saw teased could represent a new Shaper as well. Apparently he's the guy who tries to improve the Kroot genetic stock by marshalling what sort of things they cannibalise, allowing them to absorb traits through vanquished enemies. Otherwise, the other option is the Kroot Warshaper, which kind of feels like he's going to be the captain equivalent for the Kroot. He's got the option of a blade stave and prey hook, a more melee focused combatant there, or he can take a dart bow and tri-blade. It sounded like the dart bow might be a precision option to try and put some hurt on enemy characters at range. It'll be interesting to see how that stacks up with the Kroot stat lines. It would be kind of cool if they could be relied on somehow to be the primary damage dealers of the army. Generally being pretty fragile and easy to kill has held them back for that sort of role before. Finally, for Codex Tau Empire, this will be the first place that people can pick this up, and I guess that given that this has been announced and none of the Custodes, Orcs or Chaos Codexes have been announced yet, it'll probably be the next one for Warhammer 40k, though I guess it's certainly not impossible that Games Workshop could surprise us. The only rules teasers that they gave us at the announcement was that Kroot would get one of the unique detachments there. Seems very appropriate given just how many new models there are. I guess there'll probably be a Kauyon and Montcar ones, at least judging by the index detachment. Will be interesting to see what they do beyond that. The cover art for this limited edition one I think is kind of fun, harking back to classic artwork that's been on a Codex cover long in the past. I want to say it might have been around the 5th edition of the game. At the moment we don't have confirmed pricing on this yet, given that Games Workshop can just vary them quite subtly up or down a little bit depending on the exact contents of box sets or just what they're feeling like, I guess. There have definitely been some box sets that have felt very generous in terms of the amount of models that they got and some that felt less so. Our best precedent for this at the moment is the Deathwing Assault box set that just came out. That was £135, €175 or $220 and basically does feel like a bit of an analogue of this. Overall feels like a similar sort of weight class of miniatures, though probably one that would cost a lot more points in game compared with this would be my guess. In reality it could certainly be a little lower or a little higher than this, though it seems like a pretty reasonable place to start. Then estimating rough values for the kits, the Kroot Carnivores, if they were priced the same as the recent Termagant kit with the new special weapon options, that'd put them at £27.50 or $45. The Krootox Rampagers feel kind of equivalent to Scorpec Destroyers or Primaris Outriders, so that'd put them at £37.50 or $60. I have a bit of a depressing feeling that Krootox is going to wind up being really quite expensive. If they price it the same amount as the Tyranid Biovore or Pyrovore, that'd be £30 or $50, which if so I'm sure is likely to be a fairly bad points per dollar sort of ratio on that thing, even if it gets upgraded stats. Otherwise, being generous and saying Games Workshop might charge the Shapers as sort of smaller characters within the range, that'd be £22.50 or $35 each, and the Codex price we know at $35 or $60. Overall, that'd put my estimate for the overall cost of the miniatures in the box individually bought at a later date to be just over £200 or around $330. And if the price were the same as the Deathwing Assault box set, that would make for a savings estimate of around about 33%, kind of similar to Games Workshop standard for combat patrols, or at least the ones from pre-10th edition. Overall, that's not really the worst discount in the world, though I feel like, as ever, people will probably look at 25 miniatures, most of which are fairly hoardy and not be enormously impressed, at a price tag comfortably over £100 or $200. I can't help but think that the new Kroot range is probably likely to be pretty expensive to collect. Their units just don't tend to be desperately elite, and that usually doesn't pair particularly well with new and shiny Games Workshop plastic miniatures for them. Overall though, I do think it's pretty awesome to see Kroot more properly explored as a full range in Warhammer 40k. It's kind of been something that's been a fan favourite for requesting for quite a long time, but in all honesty I wasn't really expecting Games Workshop to properly go down that route, other than maybe eventually getting around to redoing their core kits, given how dated they were. Overall, in terms of value, I would rate this one as fairly standard for Games Workshop launch boxes, a bit of money saved compared with buying all the content separately if you wanted both the Kroot and the Codex, though as mentioned my guess is that points in game for these guys really isn't going to be particularly high, given that most of the box is fairly light infantry, and the supporting elements feel maybe a little bit more like skirmishers than heavy lifters, though I guess we'll see the stats on that front. Initial reaction to this did seem broadly positive though. It's hard to be anything but fairly positive when a niche race of 40k gets a big expansion like this. I do think it's perhaps a little bit odd for Tau players though who aren't particularly into the Kroot side of the army and prefer their battle suits and fire warriors and things. Just a bit funny that their first place that they're going to be able to get their hands on their book is through the big Kroot only box sets, though I guess individual releases will probably follow in the not too distant future. In any case, let me know what you think. If it's priced the same as the Deathwing Assault box set, would you rate this as a good deal or not? Finally, just to mention that channel giveaway that I talked about earlier, I did think that this box set would be rather nice for a target for a channel giveaway, given it's a whole load of cool new miniatures. And for the March giveaway, there'll be 6 copies of this on offer in the usual ways to enter on the channel. To be given the chance to win one of them, you can either support the channel on Patreon for any amount. That's linked down in the video description and is what allows me to keep on making all these videos quite so regularly like this. Or as an alternative, you can enter completely for free via supporting the channel on social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the Facebook page. And to actually enter the draw on Facebook, there's a post that appears on the 1st of March, clearly labelled as the giveaway post. It's active for over 24 hours from midnight UK time, and respond to that post with a picture of any 40k mini or imagery with your name and the date handwritten within the same photo, the last bit just to deter Facebook bots and spammers. When all the entries are in, both from Patreon and from the Facebook entries, I put all the entrants into a random number generator, pick out the winners, and then announce them in the channel update video that usually appears around the 4th of the month. If Games Workshop should be a bit slow about releasing these, they'll be just posted as soon as I receive them, to wherever you might be in the world. Feel free to check out the Patreon or the Facebook linked in the video description. Currently there's still time to enter for the Deathwing Assault box draw that'll be the February giveaway. That'll have the exact same rules but for the Deathwing Assault box and for the month of February, not March. Games Workshop does seem to be keeping these big launch boxes coming. In any case, let me know what your thoughts are. Would you be tempted to pick up the Kroot Hunting Pack box set, or are you giving a miss? Look forward to hearing any other takes down in the comments below. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel's Patreon page does have a few other benefits as well as giveaway entries. You can see certain videos early each week, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and other benefits like your name in the credits, or a few other things. If any of that sounds interesting to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, an absolutely massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.